Welcome to Art Toronto. My name is Mia Nielsen. I'm the director of the fair, and we are thrilled to continue our collaboration with the Power Plant Contemporary Art Gallery, bringing us our Power Talks. Today we have Nathan Eugene Carson. He is in conversation with curator Laura Demers. Enjoy.
Everyone. My name is Josh Human, and I'm the Curator of Education and Public Programs at the Power Plant. I am simply delighted to be working with Art Toronto again. We have worked together for more than 10 years now on producing talks and conversations. This year, in light of COVID, we have formatted these as conversations between curators and artists. And tonight, I think you're in for a real treat. Nathan Eugene Carson, who has an exhibition right now at the Power Plant, will be in conversation with Laura Demers, who has worked with him very closely on organizing that exhibition. This is actually the third of 4 programs that the Power Plant has been engaged in. On Friday, October 30th, together with Gallery Hugues Charbonneau in Montreal, our director, Gaetan Verna, was in conversation with Manuel Mathieu, who is exhibiting at the Power Plant right now. On Monday, Curtis Santiago was in conversation with Claire Gilman, the chief curator of the Drawing Center in New York, where Curtis Santiago just had an exhibition last winter, during the winter. And coming up on Sunday, November 8th, artist Brenda Draney will be in conversation with the Power Plant's assistant curator, Justine Khalil. I just want everyone to know that the Power Plant is open, mind you, for a very small audience. We're only allowing 10 people in at any given time. So please wear your mask, set an appointment, and come on down to visit the Power Plant. And for more information, please visit thepowerplant.org. But for now, I'm really excited to hear what Nathan and Laura have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you so much, Josh. Am I unmuted? Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Laura, and I'm here with the lovely Nathan Eugene Carson and we're very lucky to be able to have this platform to discuss Nathan's exhibition and share some thoughts together. And thank you to the Power Plant, and thank you to Art Toronto as well for giving us this platform. Before we get going, I just want to note that if you have any questions and you'd like to pose them to us, please feel free to use the Q&A function. We'll address those towards the end of the conversation. Yeah. Nathan, it's so nice to see you.
Hi, Laura. So nice to see you,
Yeah,
even though it's from a bit of a distance.
I know. It feels so strange to do this. How have you been?
I've been good, yeah. I was doing a little bit of art and cleaning and organizing earlier, and just hanging out, enjoying the nice weather that has come.
Yeah. You're in Hamilton in your studio at the moment, right?
I am, yes.
Yeah. How are things in Hamilton? I think last time we spoke, things were still closed, and you still had you were still kind of confined within your space, right?
Yeah, I always love Toronto because it's a bit of a magnet. Things move so fast in that city. So then to come just like 45 minutes down the road and it is rather quiet here in Hamilton, it's like, I understand people are ready to get back to, getting out into the world. So
Yeah.
I even enjoy coming into Toronto just to get caught up in the busyness of it because I forgot about it.
Yeah.
But yes, it is pretty quiet here in Hamilton.
And last time we spoke, you also said that the pandemic, because everything shut down, you were able to basically take a lot of time to make new works during this pandemic. Not everyone would have been so lucky necessarily, but it was really like a productive time for you to have all this time to yourself, and you were very prolific in that time.
Yeah, I feel really blessed. Literally the day that everything shut down, I tell everybody like my inspiration came back inside of me and I was able just to start working away. So I got down on my floor because I paint on my floor, and I just started channeling out kind of what I would like to say next or kind of what needs to be spoken. So I felt really blessed because I
Yeah.
know that wasn't a lot of people's case. They were rather sad, but I was happy.
Yeah, it was kind of an opportunity to slow down a little bit and kind of reflect on what, the next. So for those in the crowd who might not be so familiar with your work, maybe we can go back a little bit and just talk
Yeah.
about your beginnings as an artist. So how did you really, you have a really fascinating story. How did you kind of come upon this talent that you have, and how did you know that you wanted to be an artist? Like, how did you stumble into this?
Yeah, it was like a bit of a stumbling. There was two ways. My aunt's an artist, so I grew up kind of always watching her cut and paste or glue on a floor. She's a decoupage artist, or and just watch her transform things into new life. And then when I was maybe in about grade 4, there was a school-wide contest to design an ice cream cone for the school, and I was a bit selfish, and instead of designing just kind of one scoop, I did 3 scoops in the shape of a parrot. I won the contest because each ice cream scoop was like a different flavor and it was molded. So it was rather creative way. It just kind of, I think that kind of just showed me like a bit of a light that I wanted to do this path of being creative and in the arts.
Yeah. And then, so you said you studied photography at OCAD University in the
I
early
did.
2000s, right?
I did, yeah. I
Yeah.
did black and white printmaking and black and white photography, and for the 5 years that I was there, which was really super beneficial for me. I was able to meet some really great instructors, and they were able to kind of show me the path of how to produce a body of work. And yeah, it was really great
The
times
kind
to
of the
be able
critical thinking.
to.
Yeah. And
And
so
then
did you, oh, go ahead.
no, and I think also to that process of photography in the early 2000s before everybody had digital cameras on their phone. So it was all black and white in the darkroom for me. I didn't even do any color film. So I think that also too kind of translates a bit into my practice now, because it was always bringing images up. And so now working on the floor, I'm bringing images up.
Yeah. So for example, like you would be, because the process of them is like bathing the image in these basins that are filled with different chemicals, and then you go through the process of developing and fixing and drying all these things, right? But you're
Yeah.
working horizontally on this surface. And then when you were documenting, or when you were taking pictures, from what I've heard, you've always worked with the figure, and you always, or mostly, used your family members as models or as sitters in the photo studio. And this, I guess, like you're still working with portraiture and with the body. So, what was so appealing to you about the body and the portrait from such an early time?
I think I understood that there was a soul in the body, and I understood a way that you could essentially, for that second, capture a soul across a light, like grab the light, whether it's through a photograph or now a painting.
Yeah, and I remember seeing those photos on your website about your family members. There's a portrait of your father that has kind of like the long exposure where you see the side of the face and the front of the face at the same time, and there's like this very beautiful kind of fleeting quality to the way the person is depicted. And I think that still also translates in your portraits now, because their expression is in the portraits that you've been creating recently. They're very cryptic and they're very ambiguous. And it's almost like we're only catching a glimpse of what this person might be feeling in the interior, right?
Yeah, and sometimes I don't even know what they're feeling, and sometimes the challenging part of the artistic process is being able to capture that second or moment in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm wondering, I mean, you're well known in Hamilton. I feel like you've had quite a following there, and you've had several exhibitions, some of them, in collaboration with other people. Um, do you see a difference in how your work is being received in Hamilton before, or has it changed for you since you've had the exhibition at the power plant?
Um, well, I think that's like kind of really hard to judge at the moment in some ways because we are so in COVID. So
Yeah,
I haven't seen a lot of my artistic community members, although many have reached out via social networks to congratulate me, encourage feedback, criticism, which is all super wonderful. But I think it's just such a special time where even I want to be out celebrating and going to other people's openings and checking in on my community here in Hamilton, but a lot is still shut down or just starting to get up and running.
yeah. Um, Sorry, I'm jumping around here. I just have so
No
many questions
worries.
for you.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, you mentioned that when you were younger, you would do collages with your aunt, who's also artistically inclined. And I guess like you're still using collages in some of your paintings. I guess one of them, something that people have noticed in the exhibition that at the power plant is that you're using such different materials in various bodies of work. Some of them are very, kind of traditional drawing. Some of them are more mixed media. Some of them usually make extensive use of collage, and some of them are very kind of, you're developing these new techniques where you're layering the paint and scrubbing away. So what draws you to the materials that you currently use, and what is it that like what draws you to those materials? What is it that what possibilities do these materials have for you that other materials might not have?
Well, just to correct you on one thing, I never did collage with my aunt. I watched her do
Oh,
it for many
gotcha.
years. I sat and just watched. Yeah, which was great training ground just to observe an artist and or read books that she had around her studio or listen to music she had playing. Um, with the materials, I always have like this little motto that I use. Like, I try to make something out of nothing. So, usually, nothing is things that are discarded on the street in my studio buildings recycling bin, or again artistic members of my community bringing me over scraps of stuff that they think I could use or that they're not using. So I've always been more inclined to, or just picking things, yeah, like up off the street. I've just been inclined to working with those materials, and they just are more shiny and attractive to me than going to a store and buying something that is new.
Yeah, like you said,
Um,
you would paint with recycled objects like pieces of packaging and
yeah.
discarded sponges and things like that.
Yeah, like when I worked at Starbucks and Tim Hortons for many years, so when people were done with their plastic gift cards, we were just always told to throw them out. So I just would bring them home and use them as a surface to paint with. The last couple years, I've been working as a cleaner, and so when I'm done with the sponges after cleaning, instead of throwing them out, it just became an idea to start using them. Um, Now I'm sure I'll move on to something else. Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying the other day that the scraps of paper from various past paintings are kind of recycled back into new works too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that when an eye from somebody else now makes it into, it's kind of a bit Picasso. But yeah, I just kind of cut up old things or have old scrap from my studio laying around a lot.
That's awesome. I'm going to share my screen and maybe we can talk a little bit about the show that's going on right now.
Absolutely.
Hopefully this works. And have it play. Hopefully this works. So yeah, the show that's currently on at the Power Plant is called Cut from the Same Cloth. It's on the second floor of the gallery, so in the North Gallery. And so there's 4 different bodies of work in that exhibition, or pieces from 4 different bodies of work, because those bodies of work, you work very extensively on these series, and there's a lot of, this is only a small selection of those. And they're kind of displayed in a chronological manner, so that the viewers have an idea of what of your trajectory and where you might go next. So I'm wondering if you can maybe chat a little bit about a little bit about each of the series, so I can scroll through very quickly and can return to the images as well. So absolutely. I have them kind of in the order that one would travel through the exhibition. The entrance here with a piece from the Shine On series, and a couple more from that series here as well.
Which Ashley from 9th Editions was so generous to donate us back to the show. So if Ashley's watching, thank you. Yeah, for the Shining On series, that was my response when the police officers in the media started shooting up Black boys in the States. So they were just a bit of like automatic kind of channeled paintings I did. And it was kind of just like my way of wishing those souls well and having them shine on to whatever they're going to do next in their journey. I just felt like that was my way I could kind of contribute back to the conversation. So that was the Shine On
clarification,
series.
These were made in 2016.
Or 16, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we have these ones and then these ones as well. Can you talk a little bit about the process of making them? It seems like they're rather spontaneously made.
Yeah, so with them, I just literally poured black paint down on recycled craft paper that I had lying around the studio. It was like a very quick process of like, I don't even think there's any paintbrush or recycled materials used. So I think I just used the side of my hand or my hand, smeared it. And then I started just kind of like trying to find in, I don't know, there's maybe 24 pieces in this series, like faces or images, and just channeled them out super quickly. Like this maybe was like a week at the very most.
Wow.
Just
so it's
going
kind of,
in.
Yeah, it's kind of like a very immediate, almost kind of visceral response to the events. Trying to just like get it out of your system in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then as we walk through the exhibition, there are 3 other bodies of work as well. One of them we can see on the right-hand side here, which is the Negro Series.
Nice.
And we've chosen to display 13 pieces. But
Lucky 13.
Sorry?
Lucky number 13.
Yeah, we chose to display 13 of them, but we could have had a whole wall or 2 whole walls of the series actually, because the series is so expansive. And then on the left-hand side, there's the children, which we can look at in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate a little bit on this work that?
Yeah, so the children on the left-hand side of the wall, I started doing them maybe in 2014, 2015. So again, super like I was just trying to understand history in some ways, and also too from a child's perspective. So that's how I was kind of drawing or channeling out these like infant souls. And also too, it was me trying to figure out a way of, because I hadn't done drawing and painting before, So I was just starting because I'd always only done printmaking and photography. So this was kind of just like a warm-up lesson was the children. And then we hop on over to the right-hand side of the wall, the 13 images of a larger body of work, which is the Negro Series. The title came from the color of black paint that I used, was titled Negro. So I just kept that as the title. And basically it was me telling the story of Black people, a history of Black people during a certain timeline. And this is just part of the timeline.
Yeah, for sure. And you were kind of saying that, you know, your experience of living, for example, in Hamilton and having, or not that this is unique to Hamilton, but, you know, having kind of lived those microaggressions and these acts of racism and not really being able to pinpoint why or pinpoint how like why that affected you, and kind of being asked to talk about race in school during your undergrad.
Yeah.
From what I understand, this was kind of a response to that, right? Like the wanting to then address this history that maybe you hadn't been that familiar with growing up, right?
Yeah, because I was at the time of my undergrad, I was more focused in photography on my family. And so I wasn't ready to go even deeper into talking about the race of my family from the outside to the inside out. So it took me, I think I graduated in 2005. So it took me 10 years to really think about it and get it out of my head and put it on the paper.
Yeah.
And then this series came.
For these ones, you're not necessarily working with photographic references, are you?
No, so, like sometimes for gestures, I'll kind of look at things to make sure it kind of is landing right. Only because, again, working on the floor, when you do bring things up to vertical, how people view them, sometimes that's where I think a lot of the wonkiness can come in.
Yeah, the proportion.
Yeah, so sometimes I'll take I'll look at a familiar image to what I've already painted and just make sure they're kind of correct.
Yeah. And I've only given a couple of close-ups here just so that people have an idea of what, you know, the details in there. And with this limited palette, you're really able to kind of draw out these details that are really incredible. Yeah, I love these works so much.
Just a little bit, the female figure on the right-hand side, when I seen her hung, that's my favorite painting in the show.
Oh, really?
Out of all 39 that made it in, I don't know why. I guess I never really, I don't know, just something was really special that, like, I keep going back to that painting now. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I have these moments too where I have a favorite one for a while and then it kind of jumps around.
Yeah.
And then on the left-hand side, we have the painting that's called MLK, obviously referencing Martin Luther King Jr.'s portrait. Yeah. And you can see the textures in this one. You know, it's really, I don't know, they're really incredible. And then there's these ones too that I've included. I find it really fascinating the way you're drawing the figure too, especially that you're not using reference images for these. You know, the placement of the face and the kind of the expressions. The way that you summon these out of thin air is totally bonkers to me, but
I think it's sometimes bonkers to me too. It's like with painting, part of the process, I think, for me and a lot of artists, from what I understand, is like I feel like Nathan steps away and then the inspiration comes in and does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my good friend Julie, who runs an amazing gallery, Verso, on Queen West, with her partner Kate.
Nice.
Yeah. I hope she's watching tonight. Hi, Julie.
And then here we have the little children images as well, just for context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, in some ways, these were kind of like the start of me drawing and painting.
Yeah, because this was in 2014 when you, or I guess you had already moved back to Hamilton at that
I had
point.
moved back to Hamilton, and I was just starting to. I didn't know if there was any dark rooms, and I hadn't picked up a camera in so long. So then the children came.
Do you have that desire sometimes of like going back to that medium? Or have you done the switch fully and you're just immersed in painting from now on?
No, I do want to go back and do another photo series at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have newer works, which I'm
And then,
excited to talk about because these are still very fresh and very recent. So these were made in 2020 during the time that we had all locked up.
Yeah. Cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. I have a couple of images here that I can scroll through. So these are the bodies of work that are in that space. So what inspired you to go in this direction after kind of exploring the figure in black and white and these you kind of jumped into the world of color here?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about color lately and how to use it, just because I've always kind of worked in like the same palette: black, white, gold, brown, taupe. So that's why I think when you first walk in and you see those first 3 paintings and they're in the primary colors, I had to train myself just like anyone else. I was like, okay, let me look at a color wheel. Let me stare at color paintings, see what works together, what is complementary, what isn't. And the title comes from me and my father were having a conversation while he was in a hospice, passing on to his next adventure, about just life and how the world is kind of going now, and just like family. And he was saying we're all cut from the same cloth, and then I was being a bit cheeky after, and I said yes, but we're all different parts of a pattern. And then that just kind of stuck in my head, that cut from the same cloth, again, kind of what's happening now in the world.
Yeah, kind of talking about the kind of the kinships, or the fact that we're kind of, obviously ideologically there's vast differences, but ultimately there's a sense of humanity that people share in a way. And so
Agreed.
But I guess like when you were talking to your father, it was a bit more about the fact that you guys were so close and so similar in so many ways, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so has the title taken a new meaning since I think the sentence came out of your mouth the very first time we met, and we it kind of struck the both of us, and we stuck with it, but not in a bad way, but obviously it kind of meant a lot to the both of us. Has it taken a new meaning for you since the show opened?
No, I think I just want to make more paintings. Like I want to do more within under the same series. What those I haven't done any more since, 1 or 2, but not really. But no, it's still like it's rather warming, and it's just kind of, now I've been looking at more paintings on cloth. Which I think something good to highlight for people watching is that I never use canvas. So I always kind of work on paper, or have up until this point.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe that's something worth mentioning, is that all of these paintings are all made on paper, but they're extremely heavy. And so because they're layered with so many layers of paint, that they kind of start to behave like fabric. And they have this weight to them. And everybody I've given tours to with the show, they've just been mesmerized by the technicality and the physicality of these these objects that you've made?
Yeah, they kind of just build themselves. I just sit on the floor and listen to an album or two and kind of just, again, put it all together and then put the figure in the environment they want to be in. Yeah.
And how do you know how like a series is done? Because you've kind of established several bodies of work now.
Mm-hmm.
How do you move on from a body of work?
That's a good question. How do I know when a series is done?
Or have you ever revisited series that you had kind of left behind, I guess?
Sometimes there's like the one painting in there, the divine feminine is
Oh, yes.
prevailing.
This
So
blue
that
one.
the blue one. So that painting's been with me probably since 2015, and I could never fit it into a series. And then when me and you started talking, it was way up in my storage space, but it flickered in my head. And so then I knew it just wanted to kind of be shown individually. So it just came out of storage and then I brought it like into this cut from the same cloth world. Because it was a very different kind of painting before it ended up being what it was. It's just something I think that you as
Yeah,
an
I think I have
artist
images of that one.
intuitively kind of know when things are done.
Yeah, or when you kind of your interest starts to shift towards something new, you know that you can't
Yeah.
continue in that same path.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was also wondering, you don't necessarily make use specifically of source imagery or photographic imagery, but you do reference news events or very specific kind of things. Like, for example, I'm thinking specifically of Black Athena, which is the red painting here.
Mm-hmm.
So you have paintings that reference direct events, things that appeared in the media, things that appeared in the news. How do you kind of translate these anecdotes or these kind of stories or these into images, right?
I think with those three paintings, they're the three primary paintings: meditation, happy face, and then Black Athena. I am a meditation teacher, so I do teach meditation. If you do take a pause, then you do have a happy face. And then I'm part of a big yoga community. So that is kind of how I think of those three pieces there. With the Black Athena, it was a story that one of my girlfriends in the yoga community told me about a lady that got naked and started doing yoga in the middle of protests to stop, I guess, soldiers or from shooting or
Yeah, it
a
was
riot from breaking out. So I
in
just found that
Portland.
very fascinating because I'm usually in that space every day, not where men or women are naked doing yoga, but I just found it fascinating that something so simple as getting naked and doing some breath work and postures can really turn down the temperature of something that could be rather radical and not very positive at all. So I think that's why it was the red background too.
Yeah, just for context, for those who might not be familiar with the story, it was this woman who in Portland during some of the Black Lives Matter protests, there was a standoff between police officers who were, fully armed and, with the shields and everything, and they were forming a wall, and then there were the protesters. And this woman appeared and removed her clothes and started doing these gestures. And eventually the police left because they were, I'm supposed, shocked or maybe intimidated by her presence and just her kind of strength and her nudity for sure. So yeah, it's kind of interesting how the body becomes a political tool in such a very visceral way, right?
And also too, I think well, I don't even know if I've read really what the lady's race was that was doing it, but it was for the Black Lives Matter.
Right.
So I was like that interconnectedness. So that's why she became Black Athena.
Right. Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, and then I guess we can talk a little bit more about your recent works too. I know that you had an
Yeah.
exhibition, or you're part of a group exhibition recently, which featured this painting, and I was really surprised to see that. Happily surprised, because it seems like a continuation of the work that you've started for the power plant show, and you're kind of elaborating on that.
Yeah, it's so wonderful. Sherry, who runs Curated, she's been such a good friend and ally to the arts community, and I just was able to meet her during quarantine, and she was just doing an online thing just to, again, just like promote artists. And then she asked me if I would do this show under the radar. And then this is one of the images that came out of it. I sent you a couple more. Another one was Three Amigos, which is a story about me and two of my friends that I'm always hanging around with.
Oh, I think I only included this guy.
Yeah, no worries.
But I'll stop the sharing.
Yeah. So I've been in my studio working and trying to, again, like the thing was you came and seen me, and then a month later all that new color work left my studio. So I'm still digesting it, working through that series. I'm also, as you can kind of tell from behind me, I'm like revisiting some older work and styles and doing some of that. And also too doing some new collage work and doing a few collaborations with some artist friends, which I'm super excited about.
Oh, I'm excited to see that. You also, I think, in your conversation with Armina, which is someone who's contributing to your publication,
yes,
as an interviewer, you had shown her or talked to her about these woven pieces of. I'm wondering too, like, is it? I mean, the title "Cut from the Same Cloth" obviously also kind of alludes to textiles and being sewn together in this patchwork manner in which you work, the collage aspect of it, and this approach that you have of like kind of tackling everything at the same time in a collage way. I wonder, is textiles, or I mean, I asked about photography before because you have a background in photography, but I'm also wondering if you have an interest in working with textiles or with any other materials that you might be curious about.
I've been watching a lot of videos on land art and sculpture lately.
Okay,
so
cool.
I kind of like been smiling at my inspiration because I think that's kind of the path that it's leading me down. But I haven't gotten there yet, but I know like that's something that's super sparking my interest lately. As for like textiles and fabrics, I find them super fascinating to look at, and just the different patterns, because there's thousands of different ones, like depending on where you live in this globe.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, I think maybe might go more into sculpture next.
Oh my God, I'm excited to see that.
Maybe.
Yeah. So we might be able to take some questions from the audience. I can't see any of them yet. So please don't be shy if you want to ask some questions. I don't know. Oh, there's something popping up here. So question from Marcus. Could you elaborate on why the woman ended up being your favorite piece in the show after you saw it hung on the wall? I think Marcus is referring to that female figure in the Negro series.
I think I just seen like it different, and I entered into the piece in a way that I hadn't before, and so I think like that surprised me because it had just been in my studio for so long. So I don't know why. I was like, I'm so happy to have that piece. It's my favorite, but yeah.
And I think there are more. Let me see here. Susan here asks, why do you, like your aunt, paint or create on your floor? Why is the floor your working surface?
I don't know. It's comfortable. I just put everything on the floor with a drop cloth, or I have wood floors now, and it's like a really large surface to work on. Um, it's hard to tell because we only have a small frame, but I actually don't have any freestanding walls to work on in the studio anyways. So
Yeah,
it's the biggest surface I've always had in any place that I've lived or studio has been the floor.
yeah, and I think, having been in your studio, your walls are kind of packed um, with books and kind of sources of inspiration.
Inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Sorry, I'm just trying to filter the questions here. Okay. I realize some people are using the chat as well, which is good. Oh, someone says, what has been the reaction to your show at the Power Plan? What is next for you? Will the show travel, do you think? I mean, we're hoping that it will travel.
We're
Crossing our
hoping,
fingers.
yes.
But yeah, you just mentioned that you had an exhibition with Curated.
That's happening right now. It's going on. Yeah, and then next I'm winter's my favorite season because I'm looking forward to just hunkering down for the winter and working on a bunch of new work and researching new stuff. And like I said, I have some collaborations coming up, some with an artist friend. I'm really super excited to be able to get to that. The first part to the question about the reaction to the power plan is I tell everybody I've been crying like tears of happiness or joy because I just feel the love from everyone and the support, and I've had excellent criticism and feedback. So yeah, it's been great reaction.
And then I guess almost related, George
Yeah.
asks, you talked a lot about your artistic community, and it seems supporting and getting support from this community is important to your practice. How do you start and develop this community? How did you get to start getting to know everyone?
I think just going out to others' events, going up and introducing yourself and talking to other artists or musicians or yeah.
Yeah, and I think, Hamilton it's kind of a gem too. There's so many artists and really nice artist run centers. Obviously they all escape me now, but Center 3 and Smokestack and all the folks there. And so there's quite a lot of buzz around the artistic scene there, I believe.
And it's small and everyone is doing interesting things because really there isn't that many galleries in Hamilton. People can correct me if I'm wrong, but I just don't think that system is really as strong here. So there's a lot of like you said, artists run centers, artists go over to each other's studios. There's like such great dialogue that happens within the Hamilton community that isn't about having a show or being in a gallery. It's just it was a different way of thinking when I came here versus Toronto.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just use one last question from the chat or from the Q&A rather. Is there a piece of yours that didn't make it to the show that you would have considered including? The answer is yes.
Can we turn my camera to show? I don't. The 40th piece, I still got it framed. I did send it to you, but
oh sure, yeah, please show.
I don't know how, but yeah, it's up on my mantle because it's really big. I don't know if people can see it there.
Oh yeah,
I'll post it tomorrow on my Instagram. Actually, that'll be my post for tomorrow. But she's rather large, and she's called the matron, and she was so she was, there's 39 pieces in the power plant. She was piece number 40.
Yeah.
So she didn't make it in the end, but I wanted her to.
Yeah,
But maybe
she's
she'll
like,
travel. She
that could be
might,
nice.
yeah, maybe she'll travel with the show again in time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, I
That was
think,
the only piece that I can think of that I kind of wanted in there that didn't make it.
yeah.
Thank you
Well,
everybody for coming.
yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It was a
Really
pleasure
appreciate
chatting
it.
with you, Nathan. And this recording will be available on the Power Plant's website, on the Vimeo rather. And if you want some more imagery or more context, more information about Nathan's exhibitions and other exhibitions at the Power Plant, you can visit thepowerplant.org. Or as Josh mentioned at the beginning of this session, you can come and visit us just, through a booking, wear your mask. Thank you, Art Toronto. Thank you, the Power Plant. And good night.
Have a great evening, everybody. Thanks, Laura.
Bye.
Thanks, Power Plant. Thank you, Art Toronto.
Bye.
Bye.